What really happened in that moment? And why did almost no one notice it? Flush face. Before we uncover everything, make sure you hit like right now, drop your theory in the comments, and don't forget to subscribe to Jikook Lover, because here, we reveal the hidden moments no one else dares to talk about. Purple Heart. It looked normal, too normal. But that's exactly what makes it suspicious. A quick whisper, a subtle movement, a fleeting expression. So small, yet powerful enough to leave fans around the world questioning everything. Was it just coincidence, or something intentionally hidden? Face screaming in fear. No one was prepared for that moment. There was no dramatic music, no spotlight shift, no announcement signaling that something important was about to happen. Everything seemed routine, almost forgettable, like just another second passing in the middle of a crowded, high-energy scene. And yet, that exact ordinariness is what makes it so unsettling. Because sometimes, the biggest moments don't arrive with noise. They slip in quietly. At first, it didn't stand out. A brief lean closer, a whisper exchanged, a reaction that lasted less than a heartbeat. Many people didn't even register it in real time. The camera angle wasn't perfect, the focus wasn't centered, and the entire interaction dissolved into the chaos of everything else happening around it. But as always, the internet sees what the eye misses. A short clip began circulating. Nothing special at first glance. Just a fragment. A blink and you miss it kind of moment. But then people started watching it again, and again and again. And that's when something began to feel off. What exactly was said in that whisper? At first, the most logical explanation seemed obvious. Maybe it was just a quick stage cue. A simple check-in. A casual comment that meant absolutely nothing. That's what many assumed. But then why so close? Why did the body language shift so suddenly? And more importantly, why did the energy between them feel so intense for something so small? The more people replayed the moment, the more details began to emerge. Tiny, almost invisible movements. A slight tilt of the head. A pause that felt just a fraction longer than it should have been. And then the reaction. Subtle, but undeniable. Something changed. That's when everything started to escalate. Fans across the world began analyzing every frame, slowing the footage down, enhancing the quality, zooming in on expressions that lasted less than a second. And with every new angle, every rewatch, the same question kept resurfacing. Was this really just nothing? Or was it something we weren't supposed to see? Theories quickly spread. Some insisted it was harmless, just another normal interaction blown out of proportion. Others were convinced there was a deeper meaning hidden beneath the surface. And then there were those who believed this moment was never meant to be captured at all, that it was a rare glimpse behind a carefully maintained facade. And what makes it even more intriguing is the context. Because this moment doesn't exist in isolation. When placed alongside other interactions, glances that linger just a bit too long, distances that seem just a little too close, reactions that feel too immediate to be planned, it begins to form something else. Not clear, not confirmed, but enough to make people wonder. Is it all coincidence? Or are these fragments of a bigger story that no one has fully pieced together yet? Skeptics argue that fans are reading too much into it. That not every gesture carries meaning. That sometimes, a whisper is just a whisper. And maybe they're right. But then again, if it truly meant nothing, why does it feel like something? Why did the single moment spark such a global reaction? Why are people still talking about it, dissecting it, questioning it long after it happened? And why does every replay seem to reveal something new, something that wasn't noticed before? There's a certain kind of silence in that moment. Not the absence of sound, but the presence of something unspoken. Something that doesn't need words to be felt. And that's what makes it so difficult to ignore. Because what we saw might not be the full story. In fact, it probably isn't. The whisper itself may be gone, lost in time, never to be heard again. But the impact of that moment continues to ripple outward, growing larger with every theory, every discussion, every perspective added to the conversation. And now the question is no longer just about what happened in those few seconds. It's about what those seconds might represent. A coincidence, a misunderstanding, or a rare, unfiltered glimpse into something real, something usually hidden behind lights, cameras, and carefully controlled narratives. Because sometimes, the most powerful moments aren't the ones meant for the spotlight. They're the ones that slip through unnoticed until it's too late. And as the clip continued to circulate, something unexpected began to happen. It wasn't just fans who were rewatching the moment anymore. It was observers, casual viewers, even people who had never paid close attention before. The conversation started expanding beyond its original circle, crossing languages, timelines, and communities, turning a few seconds of footage into something much bigger than anyone could have predicted. What made it so compelling wasn't clarity, it was the lack of it. There was no definitive answer, no clear audio, no statement to confirm or deny what people thought they saw. Instead, there was only ambiguity. And ambiguity, in moments like this, becomes fuel. It invites interpretation. It opens the door to endless possibilities. And once that door is open, it's almost impossible to close again. Some viewers began to focus on the emotional tone of the interaction. They pointed out how the energy seemed to shift right before and after the whisper. It wasn't dramatic, not in the way most people would expect, but it was noticeable enough to feel intentional. A slight hesitation, a change in posture, a fleeting expression that seemed to carry more weight than the situation required. Others took a different approach. They tried to reconstruct the moment logically, breaking it down piece by piece. Where were they standing? What was happening seconds before? What followed immediately after? Was there a reason for the proximity? A practical explanation that would make everything fall neatly into place? But the more they tried to simplify it, the more complicated it seemed to become. Because every logical explanation raised new questions. If it was just a normal exchange, why did it look so private? If it was something planned, why did it feel so spontaneous? And if it was completely insignificant, why couldn't people stop thinking about it? The discussion quickly evolved into something deeper than just a single moment. It became about perception itself, about how much of what we see is shaped by what we believe. Some fans admitted they might be projecting meaning onto something neutral. Others argued that intuition shouldn't be dismissed so easily, that sometimes you can sense when something carries more weight than it appears to. And in between those perspectives, the mystery only grew stronger. What's fascinating is how a moment this small can create such a large emotional response. It reveals something about the connection between performers and their audience, a connection that goes beyond what's explicitly shown. Fans don't just watch, they feel, interpret, and internalize. And when something doesn't quite align with expectations, it stands out immediately. That's exactly what happened here. It didn't fit perfectly into the usual patterns. It didn't follow the script people were used to seeing. And because of that, it became impossible to ignore. As more edits of the clip began appearing online, each one highlighted different aspects of the moment. Some slowed it down to emphasize the closeness. Others zoomed in on facial expressions, trying to capture emotions that lasted less than a second. A few even layered music or subtitles over the footage, not to claim accuracy, but to illustrate possibilities. And with each new version, the narrative shifted slightly. Not enough to change the core mystery, but enough to keep it alive. Some viewers began to notice parallels with past moments. Not identical situations, but similar feelings. Interactions that, at the time, might have seemed insignificant, but in hindsight felt connected. It created a sense of continuity, as if this wasn't an isolated event, but part of a larger pattern that had been unfolding quietly over time. Of course, not everyone agreed with that interpretation. There were voices pushing back, urging others to remain grounded, to avoid drawing conclusions without concrete evidence. They emphasized how easy it is to misread body language, especially in high-pressure, fast-moving environments. They reminded others that not every moment is meant to carry hidden meaning. And yet, even those voices couldn't fully explain why this particular clip felt different. Because beyond analysis, beyond logic, there was something instinctive about the reaction it triggered. Something that didn't rely on proof, but on perception. And perception, in moments like this, becomes incredibly powerful. It shapes the narrative. It influences how the story is told. And sometimes, it blurs the line between reality and interpretation. As days passed, the conversation didn't fade, it evolved. Instead of asking only what happened, people began asking why it mattered so much. Why did this moment resonate in a way others didn't? Why did it spark such intense curiosity, even among those who weren't deeply invested before? The answer isn't simple. Maybe it's because the moment feels incomplete, like a sentence cut off before the final word. It leaves space for imagination, for speculation, for personal interpretation. And in that space, everyone sees something slightly different. Or maybe it's because it offers something rare, a glimpse of something unfiltered. Not staged, not rehearsed, not meant to be analyzed frame by frame. Just a brief, genuine interaction that slipped through unnoticed until it didn't. That possibility alone is enough to keep people watching. Because if this moment was real in a way that others aren't, what else might be? How many other interactions have gone unseen, unnoticed, unexamined? And how many of them would change the way we understand everything if only we had caught them in time? These questions don't have clear answers, but they don't need to, because the power of this moment isn't in what it confirms, it's in what it suggests. It suggests that there are layers beneath what we see. It suggests that not everything is as simple as it appears. And most importantly, it suggests that sometimes the truth isn't hidden, it's just overlooked. And now, every time the clip reappears, every time someone watches it for the first or the 100th time, the same feeling returns. That sense that something is just out of reach. Something almost understood, but not quite. A detail that refuses to fully reveal itself. A meaning that stays just beyond clarity. And maybe that's exactly why this moment refuses to disappear. Because it was never just about what happened in those few seconds. It was about what those seconds made people feel. Curiosity, suspicion, wonder, and a lingering question that refuses to go away. So now, with all the theories, all the analyses, all the debates that continue to unfold across the world, we're left standing in the same place we started. Watching, rewatching, trying to understand something that might never be fully explained. And maybe that's the real mystery here. Not the whisper itself, but the fact that a single, fleeting moment, so small, so quiet, so easily missed, has managed to capture the attention of so many and hold on to it long after it should have been forgotten. So tell me, if you look at that moment one more time, knowing everything that's been said, everything that's been speculated, everything that's been questioned, do you still see it as something ordinary, or does it feel like something that was never meant for us to notice in the first place? Face screaming in fear, Purple Heart.